Welcome everybody to Mud Flood was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. Tagalog is the name of the language. Tagalog is it. I believe, is it the heavenly language, RJ? Perfect to teach with or to understand how a family should. What is it? What's got me so worked up as Christ adopted Bunso? So this is coming to me pretty new. I'm springing it on you just as I get it as usual. Adopted Bunso, the youngest in the family. That, I'm not the youngest, but did go through a stage there where I was like, I'm God's little Paco for some reason. It's like, yay. And it really is like that. And it's coming through the Filipino language. I believe it had something to do with the living deacon, Philip. He was a good friend and he preached to the Ethiopian. He had 4 daughters that were prophetesses. And I believe that in dealing with China before they all departed, it was, a lot of money going on in the banking and when the world had been turned upside down for Christ. And there's a section called Nusa where, the Filipinos can point with their lips. They're not looking for a kiss. They're pointing. And that's an unspoken thing. The Nuso, it's got a G in it like our last name, but you don't pronounce it, It is not what I say, but as I have beat that dead horse enough, it's how you say it. So this could be a language where if you are pointing with your lips and saying, I don't know if I'd really trust this guy, or that guy, and point with your lips at him, go like, oh, you're talking about him. So I just want you, we'll get into it. It ties into my topic today of volleyball. I have to present the topic on a paper, and it's going to be, why do volleyball nets have 2 different heights? I mean, the men's height is just a smidge under 8 feet. 7 feet 11 and 11 sixteenths. Yeah. 7 feet 11 and 11 sixteenths. The girl's height is 7 foot 4 and 3 sixteenths. Means
So
something.
what's the metric equivalent? Is there something that actually?
Probably. It's all a YMCA made up sport anyway, just like those same guys hanging out together. Oh, the guy that invented volleyball was friends of the guy who invented basketball for the YMCA. Sure. But the Bunso language and everything like that, we're going to put that on hold for now. I got to show the disclaimer. I'm not showing it. I don't need to be reminded. I got to do the share the screen before I could show the fair use disclaimer. We're going to be giving medical advice, financial advice, and other advice. And you don't have to take it. You have to talk to your doctor or other people, and then it's okay. But they're going to disagree with me. I want you to listen to me. Fair use disclaimer right there. There it is. We got it all going on today, man.
Up for grabs, yeah.
Yep. Let's see. What do we got here? The bunso, how to use bunso. It's a term of endearment. Some Filipino families, all of them, call their youngest child or sibling a bunso. That's like me. I'm a little Paco. So that's what it is. Bunso. So when you look for videos, it's only about how to wear your hair in a bun. I was just trying to. So the Lord did give me that if you're wearing your hair in a bun like that, it's the same thing as wearing a headscarf. It's good. So we got that. Look, this Bunso, there's your thumbnail. a whole video about these other people in this band. They're sick of like this guy's are like, I sing better, I have a higher octave, I've got more range, I dance better. But everybody in our band only cares about the Bunso because he's the youngest or something. Anyway, we got that. It's when they point with their lips, it's NGUSO, NUSO. Don't take it as an invitation for a kiss. They often use this gesture without using their hands. It used to be something that only the royals did. I guess there's a kind of they like it. They're kind of like, yeah, we point with our lips. I was introduced to Tagalog when my son learned it so that he could go be a spy for Barack Obama. Hey, look, when I searched up how to use Bunso, like in a sentence, to explain it, look at the results because I was in a mood. That's the number of a man, but not the 666 of the beast or the false prophet. But there it is. So I thought I'd show it. Hey, so they lived in these old buildings, RJ. They moved in and they had some pretty neat heatilators, but this thing still burnt wood. What's the takeaway on that? Anything? You know what I heard? Kind of a pop on, pop off thing. Are you there, RJ? What do you think of that? RJ, I didn't have you added to the list or something. You were there, but it wasn't happening.
No, I got dropped. Something went wrong and I got dropped and try again. And well, currently I'm back.
Titus is Filipino too. Tito means uncle. Yeah, I think that all of Asia departed Paul. We've got to be looking over there. Remember, I teach that the United States used to be called Egypt. There's a lot going on there. Hey, you UK trucker. I was thinking about the UK and Australia, how it fits into all of this too. These pictures, we got to get through them. I made it through one, RJ. It's the Bunso. The bun is as good as a headscarf. Women, it's pointing with the lips. There's a fine example of it. I had that. It's the heatilator. Hey, look, the top of the net is, well, it is a palin. No, it's not. It's 243. So it's a smidge under 8 feet for the men. The women, it's 3/16 is not much of an inch, but so it's about 7'4" for women. That's almost 8 inches, and that's quite a difference when you're doing a lot of that jumping and hitting that ball as hard as you can. That's the attack line. Wonder why they got to have those different type of heights, RJ.
Different types of what?
Heights on the net.
Oh, height, yeah. Well, I think your reference, between the two genders.
Yep, that's it.
Is
I
it
knew
gender?
you'd get that right. So when I go to, I have to talk to these people today about, they think I owe them money. I know I don't. And I'm going to be able to show them that, man, since I started school here, I've gotten over 200,000 views and almost 41,000 hours. That's where people didn't just click on your video, they watched it for 40,000 hours. That's a lot. I'm happy with that. York, I want to study New York some too, RJ, because I'm thinking of Sergeant York. He's famously captured over 100 Germans, and then there's Old York, New York. I made it a big part of my book, and Princess York. It's a big deal.
Well, it's such a big deal. They named it twice, right?
And see, this is all just resurfaced from the original. You can see some in this picture here. Some have been resurfaced, but underneath where that falls off, it's still the old. Still the old. Here's a better picture of how some, they're not really new buildings. They're just fixed up in the golden age. It's like, hey, let's fix it up. So this is something I did the other day.
Yeah.
So we don't need to see that anymore. Yeah, guy, the highlighted area.
To pay for his debts.
That's too loud.
While all this is going on, by the way, in the Whig-controlled city of York, he'll also...
York. I guess York was a big deal. It might have been London before London. It still looks like, they're really proud that it still looks so much like it today. It's almost the same thing.
It gets quite the following.
Durable.
As various other people experiment with the idea of manipulating light to create photographs.
That was kind of nice with the masonry, with the cylindrical,
It just reminded me of the
right there.
Yeah, that to me is Robin Hood, and the Sheriff of Nottingham, and let
Good
go
for
of
how
her.
that transitions in the masonry and
supported. And people lived that life, I guess. Okay, here's a.
Well, first it was, you had to build it before you could live it.
Yeah.
So, however and whoever and whenever, it happened. Certainly.
Well, I know that you're good at reading the Bible. I'd like you to go and even if I
that's when I got dropped, then I'm gonna hit this again. And last time, that's when I got dropped when something went wrong.
Okay.
But okay, I'm expanded here now, and it seems to be.
Let's start at verse 5 and go to verse 9. Even if I talk, you keep going, okay?
All right. Above it were the cherubim of glory overshadowing the mercy seat. Of these things we cannot now speak in detail. These preparations having thus been made, the priests go regularly into the first section, performing their ritual duties. But into the second, only the high priest goes, but only but once a year, and not without taking blood, which he offers for himself and for the unintentional sins of the people. By this, the Holy Spirit indicates that the way into the holy place is not yet open as long as the first section is still standing, which is symbolic for the present age.
Okay, let's hold it right there at that point in verse 9, because something was still standing here when he was writing it to those people. It's the temple. And he was telling them as they were sitting there, having bravely ran for their lives, ignored the fact that, oh my goodness, everybody's turning away from the Lord. And he's talking about how the old covenant, now even the first covenant had regulations, because they were living the life under a new, better covenant. And he was explaining to them the old covenant, and that how they would do this and how they would do that. And even the unintentional sins, by this, the Holy Spirit indicates that the way into the holy places, and we're thinking heaven, is not yet opened as long as the first section is still standing. That's where the people could do their pretend continuation of the first covenant, which is symbolic for the present age. That was their age. We don't live in the age this book was written. That's pretty good explanation. You want to just add anything, or do you just whatever?
Well, no, even Moses, he being represented there, it isn't like Moses said, even if an angel comes and changes this, don't believe him. No, that isn't what was prophesied. But there was a time, when that was spoken. So, but to have a veil lifted, and in order to recognize what actually is happening, or what has happened, or about to take place, and sharing that information is significant for those that are willing to listen and do something about it.
I think so. So what we have here now is, if you can accept it and understand it, where he's going to pick up, it explains why the first covenant was good. The first covenant was good, and how it talks about Jesus, and how now we have a better one. And this is why they would rather die than go back to the first covenant. So picking it up in verse 9, Mr. RJ.
Sure. Which is symbolic for the present age. According to this arrangement, gifts and sacrifices are offered that cannot perfect the conscience of the worshiper, but deal only with food and drink and various washings, regulations for the body imposed until the time of Reformation. But when Christ appeared as a high priest of the good things that have come, then through the greater and more perfect tent, not made with hands, that is, not of this creation, he entered once for all into the holy places, not by means of the blood of goats and calves, but by means of his own blood, thus securing an eternal redemption. For if the blood of goats and bulls and the sprinkling of defiled persons with the ashes of a heifer sanctify for the purification of the flesh, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to God, purify our conscience from dead works to serve the living God. Therefore, he is the mediator of a new covenant, so that those who are called may receive the promised eternal inheritance, since a death has occurred that redeems them from the transgressions committed under the first covenant.
This is a little legalese, people, but this is the way the Heavenly Father works. In a legal, lay it out, knock it out, finish it off kind of way. Go ahead, RJ. Anything you want to add before you go?
Well, no, it's going to get, like you say, technical, and it's going to sound, for where a will is involved, the death of the one who made it must be established. For a will takes effect only at death, since it is not enforced as long as the one who made it is alive. Therefore, not even the first covenant was inaugurated without blood. For when every commandment of the law had been declared by Moses to all the people, he took the blood of calves and goats with water and scarlet wool and hyssop and sprinkled both the book itself and all the people, saying, "This is the blood of the covenant that God commanded for you." And in the same way, he sprinkled with the blood both the tent and all the vessels used in worship. Indeed, under the law, almost everything is purified with blood, and without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins.
This is a big finish, everybody. So hold on now. Listen.
Thus, it was necessary for the copies of the heavenly things to be purified with these rites, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. For Christ has entered not into holy places made with hands, which are copies of the true things, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. Nor was it to offer himself repeatedly, as the high priest enters the holy places every year with blood not his own. For then he would have had to suffer repeatedly since the foundation of the world. But as it is, he has appeared once for all at the end of the ages to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And just as it is appointed for man to die once, and after that comes judgment. So Christ, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time, not to deal with sin, but to save those who are eagerly waiting for him.
That was always the encouragement. We are those people who are eagerly waiting for them. And I believe that they were rewarded. Now, this is a short thing here. I'll get it myself, but I'd like your comment. Psalm 80, verse 14. Turn again, O God of hosts, look down from heaven and see. Have regard for this vine, the stock that your right hand planted, for the son whom you made strong for yourself. They have burned it with fire. They have cut it down. May they perish at the rebuke of your face. But let your hand be on the man of your right hand, the Son of Man whom you have made strong for yourself. Then we shall not turn back from you. Give us life, and we will call on your name. Restore us, O Lord God of hosts. Let your face shine that we may be saved. A lot of the sun and the made him strong. I just thought I'd read that one today.
Yeah, it reminds me of, like the stump of Jesse, so to speak.
Kind of one bound with iron. Remember how that always confuses me. There's a whirlwind, but it's not the word storm, because you can see here's a whirlwind goes up to heaven, and I think vortex, whirlwinds, tornadoes out of the storm. Well, it's out of the whirlwind because there's a stormy wind, and then if they have that, they have to call it a tempest. You don't want a tempest in a teapot. A stormy tempest. Frighten them with your storm and your tempest. Now, here's the thing that we've been looking at in the ESV. I think that they have it right. And boy, we sure had, there's been some hurricanes. If the people that have stuck with me, we've waited for Ida and some of the other ones. And now this, what was that? That one that starts with an N, Nadine or whatever. It got North Carolina. Hurricane vortex, had to pop that in there. RJ, if I speak with the tongues of men and angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have prophetic powers and understand all the mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but I have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Wow. What's this tongues of men and angels stuff? Anything you got? Anything on that?
Yeah, I was going back to kind of what I was, uh, when I mentioned, the stump of Jesse and what that implies genetically, because when
What is it? It sounds
I'm not
controversial.
saying genetics,
What are
just
you saying? What are you saying?
tainted or contaminated, but right there, the last paragraph in Ruth is a not to break what and um, lose focus where where you were as far as the banging cymbal at the gate or whatever, gong, banging gong thing. But yeah, in Ruth 4, the very last paragraph, that it just you know it's significant because of the family
Perez?
tree line.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is planned. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that these things are going to happen? The kinsman redeemer is involved in this.
Well,
He's
yeah, and then Ruth herself, as was uh
Moabite.
well,
Well,
Rahab,
no, Rahab,
where you're getting
Naomi was
half
Jewish.
the genetics of the
Yeah.
next generation, you know, have come from each parent,
Yeah, no
apparently.
argument there. My deal
But,
on this is let me just say
but
something here real quick is that Ruth was a Moabite. Okay, Moabites get banned from the whole world along with the
for 10
Amorites
generations.
because they didn't greet them with bread and water. And Jesus's descendants have a Moabite in them because Abraham said that through his descendant Christ, all nations will be blessed. So they're blessed. Although they had a rough time, they learned their lesson.
And yeah, and like I say, back and then early, back when Joshua, the fall of Jericho, with Rahab, that same it's the same genetic line that Emmanuel will be coming from. That's the whole point of being so clear with who begat, all the way
Right.
back to Adam. Um, from that creation and imminent fall soon thereafter, and fulfilling that promise, in the garden. Christmas is the beginning of a promise being fulfilled. Yeah, it doesn't, it isn't totally done until the resurrection, you know 3 days after what happened on Calvary. But and then once he ascended, well, he told him,
He
hang on
warned
to the
them.
plow, because I'll be back before you tip over here.
Some of you,
You
yeah.
know,
Okay, so let's look at there. So we had Ruth is going to do it. Now, we're going to go in order here. What did I have here? Oh, so I have to mention Freescale because I'm the Bunso, and my big brother allows me to remind people that I started this because Obama was going to lose an election to Mitt Romney, so he started bagging and tagging people and saying, "Who's soft on terror now? If you even Jonas Brothers, you look at my daughters, I'll drone you to death." And something, it was just weirdness. And that's what started me down the road. Motorola announced that their semiconductor division would divest on October 6, 2003, and would have a temporary name of SPS Spinco. So they had initially offered it for $13. They thought it'd be worth more, but they thought 13 was the good deal. They did it, whatever these numbers are, to their owners, and Freescale popped it up from 13 to where all of a sudden an unknown and new starting Blackstone group bought it up for almost, close pushing $40. And this is the company.
Are you basing this on a lucrative military industrial complex contracts?
That they were, what they trained my son to do, that they said was more the art than a real science. And him and some other people, they chose him out of their testing and they put him in a thing to spy on people and kill them. And that company, Freescale, that was brought by the Blackstone, was, the Bushes and the Cheneys. It was that Carlyle group. And now they don't need it because they can use this same tracking thing that whatever my son was studying, that you could take the battery out of it and they could still track you. And so they were killing those people that way. But now they don't need humans to do it. And they always knew that they'd be able to phase that group out because now the AI can do it without the human intervention.
Well,
and he
AI
learned
only
Tagalog.
works as well as it's been programmed to work.
He learned Tagalog. Now to join to be in the flight crew and to be their spy, I guess he had to go to the Presidio in Monterey to learn a foreign language. That's one of the deal. And they assigned him Tagalog. So that's where I learned about the pointing lips and stuff. So we got through that. It's Freescale, everybody.
Yeah, I guess there's some quirks that some families share or whatever. But yeah, to have a whole entire society that picks up on these, I don't know, habits or culture, but whatever you want to name it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, communicating, it must mean something, or what would be the point?
Yeah, they do it. They understand it. I want to say something to CS Star. English is heavenly. It's what the majority of Christians speak. Well, the majority of people are on the thing. Nobody's hiding your comment. You try clicking on the comments where it says, in real time, not top comments. Nobody's, you know what? We should hide your comment. You're probably a King James person, Tinkerbell. Don't come on here, somebody brand new and going to be acting like, oh, heavenly English, hiding my comment. You don't even know who you're talking to. I was showing a friend how they just launder millions of dollars through art. We probably don't need to check that out. Here, the reason that Filipino is so different, Tagalog, it's the same thing. It means the same thing, is because of the kapwa. Here's what the kapwa is.
Kapwa. If we are one, we have a shared responsibility for one another. This is a very profound philosophy. A shared responsibility. It's not dog-eat-dog attitude. It's not survival of the fittest. It's not ruthless competition. It's cooperation, collaboration, harmony. Do you know how the world has survived? How humanity has survived? According to anthropology, we have survived because of cooperation rather than competition. That's the web of life. If there's no harmony on Earth, no species would have survived. We have to emphasize that. But our culture is based on cooperation, harmony, bayanihan, doing things together for the common good. This is who Filipinos are, but Filipinos don't realize this. The more we realize it, the better for not only us, but the better for the world, because we can promote our culture everywhere. And we can be very...
Now, I was thinking it was going to be Spanish, because Spanish has some very intricate of how you use the language, case and term. There's something for everything. And they also have this in Tagalog, Filipino here. Let's look at the word eat, because that's a big deal in the Bible if you eat with somebody.
Of conjugations. How many conjugations are possible in English? The word to eat. Eat, eating, ate, eaten. What else? I suppose you can have at most 12 conjugations of one word or one verb in English, but not more than 12. What about kain? The Tagalog word for eat. In less than an hour, you can come up with 100 conjugations of kain. Kain na tayo, makikain, nagsikain, napakain, palakain, ikain mo ko, nagkainan. So many, no? So what does that mean? That means we are highly relational. From the very beginning, we're already highly relational. Because every conjugation is a kind of relationship. Magsikain tayo, all of us, let's go together and eat, no? O ikain mo ko, do the eating for me. That's another kind of relation, no? Napakain, well,
It's not 50,000-year-old language. I think it has something to do with what they had going on Philip and his apostle daughters, and that the world had been turned upside down for Christ. I'm still all over this left atrium stuff. But there's that picture again where, they're sending us messages. I just left it up. How to say bunso. So what does this even mean? Expressing familiar affection and respect is an essential part of the Filipino culture. And knowing how to say bunso in both formal and informal ways allows you to navigate various social settings. Here's a couple of examples here. When the term bunso is widely used throughout the Philippines, there might be regional variations. Hey, little bro, that could be a bunso thing. If you're emphasizing, hey, I'm going to come and watch a movie with you later. We'll hang out. If you want to have it as a pet name, what's up, bunskoy, or something like that. Hi, bunso, how was your day at school? Honorific. Hello, Engineer Carlos Bunso. Could you please pass me the documents? So it's something that you use in a formal term. Excuse me, ma'am. May I speak with you, Bunso? And I'm not saying people have to, I'm not even sure what it means that I'm the Bunso, and this is a language that could help prove Mudflood was Armageddon, but I think it does. It got me there. And I don't think that the heavenly language that I'm missing a prophecy somewhere where there'll be a heavenly language that people will, do better with. But I don't think it is the speaking in tongues thing, RJ.
And I don't believe it's intended to be derogatory. It'd be like a caboose. What's a caboose? Well, on the rails on a train, it's expected to be the last car that's linked, in unity, to the engines or engine. And I think that, there's a big benefit to attaching, to unity when it comes to unadulterated truth.
I don't think that people that are speaking in tongues and thinking that they're speaking in the tongues of angels and that are doing that today are doing what they did in the old covenant, or
if you're speaking in a foreign language, at the time of
I have highlighted 1 Corinthians
Pentecost.
14:2, and this is not talking about a foreign language that someone would understand. For if one speaks in a tongue, speaks not to men but to God, for no one understands him, but he utters mysteries in the Spirit. Paul said, I pray in tongues more than you all, but when I'm in the church, I'd rather just put it right out there. Hey, here's what I'm saying. in case there's nobody to interpret. I think there was a different form of tongues, but it said that the signs will cease, which is why when I hear people like that guy that pops on the JT Loves JC show and he's just talking about, oh, I cast this demon out, cast that demon out, and I saw it go into another person. I think that's all BS. So there's that. ARJ, sweat, stretch, and eat organic. That's not going to go out of style, is it?
Well, I was going to talk to you about something, off the air pertaining to some of them details, but and that was, plastics. Is there a way to, I guess, enhance or improve the way, the body can get rid of some of the microplastics that are in most people,
Yeah, they're in everybody. Everybody.
And because it's a daily intake,
Yep.
And
that's the thing, is that you'd think of the lockdown and how wrong a certain group was, that they'd be admitting it now, but they don't. They just are acting like whistling in the graveyard. Is that like nothing to see here? We didn't say that. It's like, remember when you couldn't even mention ivermectin?
Well, yeah, something, ignorance is bliss, I think is a quote.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they were ignorant either. I feel some of them were that were involved in it weren't that stupid. I feel they knew exactly what their intentions and motivations were. You can't pass it off as, you can try. They didn't know any better. Forgive them. They know not what they do. Well, when you're breaking that many laws against that type of behavior, I think that should throw up a red flag in my mind. Obviously, that's not a majority opinion, but there are some that I think share that view.
We're going to lose the culture war. We're going to get encompassed about. It's not that we're wrong. It's not, that we have to scratch our head and go, why won't they listen? Their ears aren't open. Their eyes haven't been opened by God. They will continue being unwise and not know what's going on. Only the wise.
Those that will continue to be greedy and do whatever nefarious act, to whatever they can benefit. And regardless how heinous the crimes are, they'll be involved in it. It isn't like they don't know what they're doing.
What are the crimes of this?
More creative.
What are the crimes of a cell phone? What are the crimes of a cell phone, of a society knowing that we pay a lot just to maintain our cell phones, and the people that are making them are working in slave-like conditions, but we don't give one shit?
Well, that's just, one, look at the commodity, whether it's chocolate, rubber, different things that, even there was a time, even sugar, suppose even, rum, whatever the commodity, there's bananas.
Right. They're going to cut off your hand if you don't pick enough bananas, because they've got to get them on top of every refrigerator in the free white world. And same with rubber. Thanks to them and their belief in Darwinism, and some people are just born to be servants. That was the prevailing culture. That's what's being hidden. We're acting like We were the light on the hill. Let's make America great again. We didn't let black people vote in a lot of places until 1964. We had separate baseball teams. You couldn't be in a white movie if you had one drop of black blood, and we act like we can judge South Africa and everything else. Oh, America, give me a break.
So when did you say they discontinued the slave labor force?
Never. Never.
Okay.
You know, we're the
Like
new
that.
slave labor force. They made a big show of Lincoln freed the slaves, but then Reconstruction came back in less than the next term of the guy. And all of a sudden, everybody was sharecropping. The Industrial Revolution take off. There's robber barons, and now white people, black people, we're all poor. They've set the United States up as like some sort of a hero because of fake atomic weapons using fake quantum physics, which was the only way they could explain gravity, the big G, which now even the people are going, how did we believe this?
Yeah.
Einstein's a plagiarizer. These guys did it. We're the ones that know the truth. We're the first ones that started a ministry. I started a ministry. You joined it.
Yeah. And now
The Flat Earth Nation, the golden age was past. And that's why, and I've always said, God is my big brother. I'm adopted into this family. That's why this is that knowledge, that end time knowledge that's going to be increased, that we realize the lie. Satan lied to the nations are deceived. He brought the nations back, and we still lose the culture war, even though we're right about everything, even though we're right about volleyball. Somehow this is going to get twisted. I'll be able to show them all the proof. Men's nets are higher because they're bigger, stronger, jump higher. You don't want men to play on a low net against women because they could hurt them. And nobody complained about those rules for 100 years until now. That is kind of like, well, I am a woman and I want to play on a woman's team. You never get the flip flop of that, RJ. Where's the big woman that says, I want to join the NFL? You know, it's not the men's football league. It's the best football player in the world league. If you're good enough.
Coastline where they're playing, sand volleyball, co-ed, and then go measure the net.
Yeah, those are always a joke, those big sagging nets, but still, there are only two people. That has to work hard.
But yeah, as far as, knowledge versus information, when you were talking, now, the big G, gravity, now it's just the G spot. In
everything.
And
people will turn to sex.
You can find information. I'm not saying you're going to get smart or, there's good now, but yeah, you can find information
on everything. Yeah, everything's G. So we're going to wrap this up. Let's see what else was here. The sweat, stretch, and eat organic thing is not going away. And yes,
bind to harmful chemicals and make them more water soluble so we can excrete them through our urine. Animal studies have shown that when rodents are exposed to BPA and given sulforaphane, their phase 2 detoxification enzymes go into overdrive and they experience less overall BPA.
All right, I wasn't convinced about the sulforaphane, but you have to make an intent to purify your body because that's the age we're living in. They're killing us. It's not a speculation.
BPA, phthalates, and even microplastics.
It's a natural process.
They support this mechanism, indicating that higher fiber intake leads to increased fecal excretion of these compounds. But what about microplastics themselves? While research is still emerging here, I think there's a reason to believe that dietary fiber could aid in the excretion of some.
And if you don't, you're going to be hurting. But she wrapped it up. It's sweat, stretch, and eat organic.
Sweat of participants. I think this tells us that regular sweating whether through exercise or sauna or hot yoga, can be a viable route for excreting some of these harmful substances. So while the amount,
if you care, people, that's how you do it. I looked up volleyball. Colorado State advanced to the finals, and so they forfeited 2 games to San Jose State because San Jose State has a born biological male who is now playing on the women's team. And so a bunch of teams forfeited. So that gave them extra wins, even though they weren't really that good to get into the tournament. And so finally, Colorado State said, well, even with your controversial player, we'll play you. And they beat them. So it's the biological male that's playing on the women's team is just not that good. You know, or otherwise he'd be a pro beach volleyball player, but he is getting a free college education, or she is getting a free college education. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't talk, right? I know I can't. Team sport, first Olympics was 1964. Now everybody does it. It's super famous, but this guy again, Bill Morgan, Holyoke, Mass, was a one-time student of the basketball inventor, invented the game for clients at the YMCA, and who knows, the original net was only 6 foot 6 inches, and you could have as many players as you wanted on a team. A lot of rules have changed. So Japanese women became very good at it when they were in concentration camps. Does look like they're going with 7 players. So pretty nice rig. Nudists take over volleyball. Did you see that? I showed some nudists.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had to. The nudists were the early adopters when they weren't at the YMCA. They want to run around with their wangers hanging out. In the late 1920s, I guess the Roaring 20s were crazy, and by the 1960s, the volleyball court became standard for the nudist naturist clubs. That problem. What the hell?
Sounds like it has a lot of credibility. Yeah.
What the hell? Those guys back there. I know George Bernard Shaw and those people, and some of the people that, they would wait until your children got to college and then they'd spring it on it. You know that Jesus said he was coming back, and then they'd show, well, now that you're in college and you know Jesus is wrong, come with me now. They groom them, lead them away from Christ, but they can't do that anymore. This is a big deal. I'm not going to get off it. I'm going to learn more about it. I want to read these couple of chapters here. Because this is what we're dealing with here. There's one more thing. If we have a couple of minutes, can you see this guy?
Verse 3. Let's go to the future time of now. Revelation chapter 20, verse 3 tells us when this happens, gives us so much context of what's going on here. Revelation chapter 20, verse 3, it says, let's start over here in Revelation 20, verse 1. Let's get started. In Revelation 20, verse 1, it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven having a key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of that dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. 1,000 years. That's during the 1,000-year millennial kingdom. That's during that time, which is future. When Jesus reigns on the earth for
So it took a long time, RJ, but the dispensationalist now, with this, starting with his small channel of 146 subscribers, but he's already got over 800 views in 3 days. That seems almost impossible for such a small subscriber unless you're really being pushed. And 28 thumbs up on complete nonsense. Just a couple more minutes here. Just as how he's trying to tie in the fall of Satan with Revelation 20.
chapter 14. And if you read in context, you see that the devil is actually, God is actually talking to Satan himself. And I don't want to get too far with it. I really recommend you read Isaiah 14. Chapter 14. It's not very long at all. There's a lot of information here. I want to show how this lines up with Revelation. Now, so many people are like, oh, God's done with the Jews. That's not true. And the Revelation's already happened. Now, starting in chapter 4 of Revelation, from chapter 4 to the rest of the Bible, Revelation, it's all future. The first.
You know why they say that, RJ? Chapter 4.
Because they don't read chapter 1, probably.
Right. And this is their whole proof that after this I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. And the first voice which I heard speaking to me like a trumpet, come up here. He's talking to one person. Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this. So he's not talking to one person. They're talking to the whole church. And that's the rapture. That's what dispensationalists hang their whole hat on.
Really?
Right. And they say, well, he never mentioned the church anymore. So how could it be? The church got taken. This whole book is written to, the revelation of Jesus, that he's going to show his servants the things that are going to soon take place. Hi, this book is to the 7 churches in Asia. So how is it ever, the whole book is for them, not only their own particular, chapters 2 and 3, it says, well, I'm going to pick you out and name you. But so you can't just say he's not talking to the church anymore. He's talking to the church that existed then, who had been running for their lives and did it. Some died in faith, and the rest made it to the end. That's the Bible. It's what the Bible teaches.
The first half of even the first sentence of chapter 1, half of it is a pretty good explanation. The first sentence.
These things that must soon take place. Yeah, they have ways of reading it. They can just stop and say this generation won't pass away. It goes like, well, yeah, the generation where all these things take place. Oh, you mean like they described in the book of Acts? Let's see where we're at here. So, in reality, who has believed what he has heard from us? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant and like a root out of dry ground. Apparently, he had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And as one from whom men hid their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. He's talking about prophetically that they did not. Yet no one else, it was prophesied, could, our griefs, our sorrows, we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God. What this all comes down to is that he was pierced for our transgression, crushed for our iniquities, chastisement that brought us peace, his wounds, we're healed. These things happened, RJ, and everybody knows it.
Well, Psalm 22 is
How, yeah, like the dogs encompass him about.
Compare.
Perfect. Yeah, let's check it out. It is a short and sweet too. Do you want to read this one?
The one you're. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you our fathers trusted. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried and were rescued. In you they trusted and were not put to shame. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by mankind and despised by the people. All who seek me mock me. They make mouths at me. They wag their heads. He trusted in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. Yet you are he who took me from the womb. You made me trust you at my mother's breast. On you was I cast from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. Be
Wow.
not far from me, for trouble is near, and there is none to help. Many bulls encompass me, strong bulls of Bashan surround me. They open wide their mouths at me like a raving and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted within my breasts. My strength is dried up like the potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. For dogs encompass me, a company of evildoers encircle me. They have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far off. O you, my help, come quickly to my aid. Deliver my soul from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dogs. Save me from the mouth of the lion. You have rescued me from the horns of the wild oxen.
Okay, let's end it right there. That can't be any doubt. They're talking about the Lord Jesus Christ. These are the types of prophecies that the Bible is full of, and people would always point to them, but then they'd say, yeah, but he didn't come back in the right generation, and we're still waiting, and everybody else always believes that David. Here's, we need to learn from, we're all going to take the headers. Things are going to happen, This is Psalm 38. It's usually, but for you, O Lord, do I wait. It is you, O Lord, my God, who will answer. For I said, only let them not rejoice over me who boast against me when my foot slips. For I am ready to fall, and my pain is ever before me. I confess my iniquity. I am sorry for my sin, but my foes are vigorous. They are mighty, and many are those who hate me wrongfully. Those who render me evil for good accuse me because I follow after good. Do not forsake me, O Lord. O my God, be not far from me. Make haste to help me, O Lord of my salvation. The next psalm talks about how fearfully and wonderfully made we are. That, at least I thought it did. Is it Psalm 39? Huh. Well, I guess it's the one 38. No, I thought that was the one where it says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made,
Yeah,
stitched
that's
together.
in the mother's womb, in iniquity was conceived, or in her iniquity. Yeah, I can't quote you I can probably find it here, but
Yeah, we'll get back to it. I know that Psalm 82 is one we go over, and one that last night the Lord was putting on my heart was Psalm 80, and I think that it was just a remembrance of the God that you brought a vine out of Egypt, you drove the nations out, you planted it. There's a lot more going on in the wilderness of how quickly they rebelled. And let's see. Turn again, O God of hosts, look down from heaven and see, and have regard for this vine, the stock that your right hand planted, and for the son whom you made strong for yourself. They have burned it with fire, they have cut it down. May they perish at the rebuke of your face. Did I already read this one? But let your hand be on the man of your right hand, and the son of whom you have made strong for yourself. Then we shall not turn back from you. Give us life, and we will call upon your name. Restore us, O Lord God of hosts. Let your face shine, that we may be saved. I just think that with the whole information, welcome Marcella. We're on it. This is the what makes you wise in Daniel chapter 12. This is the message. There's not going to be somebody else that brings a fulfillment to Daniel that isn't involved with, hey, it's a flat earth nation, golden age past. Nobody's going to bring a new situation where the words were shut up and sealed until the time of the end. And now we know that none of the wicked are going to understand because their eyes aren't open, their ears aren't open, but the wise will. But we're still going to lose. We're still going to be encompassed about. We're not going to change the culture of this world. We're going to be the one who wait and arrive at it when they're coming after us trying to kill them, because there are going to be many that'll purify themselves, trying to focus on getting plastic out of their body comes to mind, and they will try to, make themselves white and be refined. But the wicked are not going to change. When are these things going to come to pass? They're shut up. It's the end that it's going to be finished. But at that time, your people shall be delivered. Everyone whose name shall be found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. But those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up the words, seal the book until the time of the end. Now people are going to be running to and fro, and the only knowledge that shall increase is that they lied, that this book, the Bible, was written to them then. And we have Revelation 20. We have the ministry that God woke up his little Bunso to say we were reading it wrong. And now the world knows we were reading it wrong. And why don't you just let the sunshine in, RJ?
Yeah, it's nice to see it occasionally. Yeah.
Go ahead, brother. Wrap it up.
Yeah, I guess I don't have any more to add other than, stay safe and informed. Um,
The
you know,
whole Bunso thing, the Filipino language, I believe it was Philip and his daughters who had to do it. This is new. Give us time to flesh it out. RJ's only known about this for 1 hour and 15 minutes. So please give him a break too. I'm spring things on him all the time. This is a big one though. Time for men to act like men, even though we're going to be shamed. That you're not going to talk most people into it, guys. You're not going to be the guy that just shows up and no matter who it is. Rejoice with the ones who have their ears open and they hear it. To them, it's the breath of life. To most people, our witness will remain the stench of death. Because that's the way it is on this flat earth nation with the golden age past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. That's why me and my friends are never, ever going to tell you anything else. Why would we, when we're busy trying to prove that we have your best interest at heart? Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Avidese. Nakame.
searching for unity. Yeah.
Yeah.